Basilosaurus was one of the first fully aquatic whales, a marine predator that lived during the late Eocene, roughly 41 to 34 million years ago. It belongs to a group of extinct whales called archaeocetes, meaning ancient whales, and it marks a key stage in one of the best documented transitions in the history of life, the evolution of whales from land mammals into ocean-dwelling giants. In this video, we'll cover how it was discovered, where it fits in whale evolution, its anatomy, what it ate, where it lived, why it went extinct, and why it remains scientifically important. Basilosaurus was first described in 1834 by the American naturalist Richard Harlan. The fossils came from the southern United States, where large vertebrae had been turning up for years in regions once covered by a shallow Eocene sea. Examining the elongated vertebrae, Harlan concluded the animal was an enormous extinct reptile and named it Basilosaurus, Greek for king lizard. This was incorrect. The British anatomist Richard Owen later studied the same material and identified features in the teeth found only in mammals. He recognized Basilosaurus as an early whale and proposed renaming it Megalodon, yoke-toothed. But zoological rules give priority to the first published name, so Basilosaurus remains official despite being biologically wrong, one of the most famous misnomers in science. Two main species are recognized: Basilosaurus cetoides from North America and Basilosaurus isis from Egypt, the latter known from especially complete remains. Whales belong to the order Cetacea, today divided into toothed whales and baleen whales. Before these modern groups existed, there were the archaeocetes, a series of earlier forms bridging land mammals and modern whales. Whale evolution began on land. Around 50 million years ago, the earliest known whale ancestor was Pachycetus, a four-legged land mammal identified as an early whale through its skull and ear structure. Next came Ambulocetus, the walking whale, an amphibious hunter, followed by the protocetids such as Rhodhocetus, which grew progressively more aquatic. Basilosaurus and its relative Dorudon belong to the family Basilosauridae, the first whales to live entirely in water, unable to return to land. They represent the final major stage of the Archaeocetes and the group most closely linked to the origin of all modern whales. In short, Basilosaurus marks the point at which whales became permanently marine. Basilosaurus was large, with length estimates from about 15 to 20 meters, longer than almost any predatory marine animal alive today. Its proportions, however, were unusual. Rather than thick and heavily built, it had a long, slender body. The reason lies in its vertebrae, which were greatly elongated. Individual bones could exceed half a meter, giving the animal an eel-like serpentine form. As a result, it was far less massive than a modern whale of similar length. Studies of its bone structure suggest it lived mainly in warm, shallow coastal waters near the surface, rather than diving to great depths. One of the most important features of Basilosaurus is its hind limbs. Well-preserved skeletons show it retained small but fully formed hind legs, complete with a thigh bone, lower leg bones, ankle bones, and toes. But they were only a few tens of centimeters long on a body up to 20 meters in length, and they were not connected to the spine in a way that could bear weight. Basilosaurus could not walk on them, and they were too small to aid swimming. These limbs are vestigial, reduced, non-functional remnants of structures that were fully functional in its ancestors. They are direct physical evidence that the ancestors of Basilosaurus were four-legged land animals. The leading hypothesis is that they served as guides during mating, though this remains unconfirmed. The vestigial legs of Basilosaurus are one of the clearest examples of evolutionary transition preserved in the fossil record. The teeth of Basilosaurus were the key to identifying it as a mammal. Modern toothed whales have homodont teeth, all the same simple shape. Basilosaurus had heterodont teeth with different types in different parts of the jaw, typical of many mammals. The front teeth were pointed and conical, used for seizing prey. The back teeth were larger, double-rooted, and serrated, used for cutting. This combination indicates Basilosaurus was an active predator that captured and processed sizable prey. Biomechanical studies estimate it had one of the most powerful bites of any known mammal, capable of breaking bone, consistent with the evidence for its diet. Basilosaurus was an apex predator, sitting at the top of its food chain. The clearest evidence comes from the Egyptian species at Wadi al-Hitan. First, skulls of juvenile Dorodon, a smaller whale living in the same waters, have been found with bite marks matching the teeth of Basilosaurus, suggesting it preyed on young Dorodon in shallow coastal areas. Second, studies of fossilized stomach contents have linked Basilosaurus directly to the remains of juvenile Dorodon and fish. Together, this shows Basilosaurus fed on fish and smaller whales, using its powerful bite to crush prey, a very different strategy from modern baleen whales, which filter feed. The way Basilosaurus moved was shaped by its elongated body. Modern whales swim with a stiff body and a powerful tail fluke. Basilosaurus, with its long, flexible spine, is thought to have moved in slow, undulating motions, like an eel. Whether it had a well-developed fluke is uncertain. This suggests it was not a fast, open ocean swimmer, but was better suited to warm, shallow seas. In terms of senses, Basilosaurus differed sharply from modern whales. Its brain was relatively small, and it lacked the structures associated with echolocation, meaning it did not use biological sonar. There is also no strong evidence it lived in complex social groups. It is generally reconstructed as a largely solitary animal, relying on instinct and direct senses rather than the advanced behaviors of its modern descendants. Basilosaurus lived in a world much warmer than today, with no permanent polar ice and high sea levels. Its fossils come from deposits that were once warm, shallow seas. The North American species is found in the southeastern United States. The North African species is best known from Wadi al-Hitan, the Valley of the Whales, in Egypt's western desert, once part of the ancient Tethys Ocean. This site preserves hundreds of fossil whales, including complete Basilosaurus skeletons and the well-preserved hind limbs that confirmed the link between whales and land mammals. Because of its scientific value, Wadi al-Hitan is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. These distributions show Basilosaurus was a wide-ranging animal, present in warm seas across multiple regions of the Eocene world. Basilosaurus and the other archaeocetes did not survive into the modern era. Their decline is tied to major environmental change near the end of the Eocene. Around 34 million years ago, at the Eocene-Oligocene boundary, Earth's climate cooled significantly. Ice sheets began forming on Antarctica, sea levels and ocean circulation shifted, and the warm, shallow seas these animals depended on were reduced. The archaeocetes declined and disappeared. But their extinction was not the end of whales. Before they vanished, They gave rise to the two groups that dominate the oceans today. The toothed whales, which later evolved echolocation, and the baleen whales, which lost their teeth and developed filter feeding, eventually producing the largest animals ever known. Basilosaurus and its relatives were not a dead end. They were a transitional group connecting early amphibious whales to modern ones. Basilosaurus matters because it provides clear physical evidence of large-scale evolutionary change. The retention of small, complete, non-functional hind limbs in a fully aquatic animal shows how evolution modifies existing structures over time rather than designing organisms from scratch. These legs are a textbook vestigial structure, directly supporting the conclusion that whales evolved from four-legged land mammals. By comparing Basilosaurus with earlier forms like Pachycetus and Ambulocetus, scientists can reconstruct the step-by-step return to the water, and exceptional sites like Wadi al-Hitan let researchers study not just one animal, but the whole ecosystem it lived in. For these reasons, Basilosaurus is one of the most important fossil animals for understanding whale evolution. If you find this kind of evidence-based look at prehistoric life valuable, consider subscribing. It's where we explore the science behind the ancient world. Basilosaurus was a large archaeocete whale that lived in warm, shallow seas during the late Eocene. First misidentified as a reptile and named king lizard, it was later recognized as an early whale. It had an elongated, serpentine body, a small brain, no echolocation, and powerful heterodont teeth. It was an apex predator that fed on fish and smaller whales, and it retained small vestigial hind limbs, direct evidence of its land-dwelling ancestry. Basilosaurus represents the stage at which whales became fully aquatic. Though it went extinct during the climate changes at the end of the Eocene, the group it belonged to gave rise to all modern whales, making it one of the clearest records we have of how a major group of mammals returned to the sea.